has a passion for music and young people. Also, he loves ice cream with peppermint chocolate. Sean absolutely adores his wife and his little baby Heaven. And, but most importantly, Sean has a passion for bringing everyone around him to Christ. He is someone who will do God's will no matter the consequences, and he's a stubborn believer in chasing God's dream for him. So I ask that you will pray for him and prepare your hearts for what he's about to say.
Amen.
Katya, giving up trade secrets.
You stand with all? It is a joy to be with you. It is, this is a new experience for me. I've driven past this church so many times and have so many faces here. It's like, why have I not been here to worship on Sabbath? I don't know. But this is, it's a good day. I want to start with a question. I will start with this preface. Today is not going to be a complex sermon. It is, yeah, great, excited. It is mostly going to be a story that has broken my heart wide open, and I trust and I hope it will do the same for you. But I want to start by asking you a question, and that is this: Heaven, why do you want to go? If you met someone on the street, someone who doesn't know anything about the place, or about even the idea, and you invite them to go with you, and they ask you, but why should I go? What would you tell them? My brother had a mentor a number of years back who was one of these men who's done everything. He's gone everywhere. He lived a full life. Was the holder of many patents. He invented several ultralight aircraft. He was a chemist. He was an engineer. He made his millions of dollars. He lost his millions of dollars. He made his famous friends. He had pictures on the wall with Chuck Yeager, and you name it. Made his famous friends, lost his famous friends, and now he's at the end of his life, and he was working on this problem, this chemical problem, and he had all kinds of. The problem held such promise. He discovered a new way to refine nickel, the metal. What we do, most of us think. But he refined it to an extent that he could extend the life of a battery made with nickel oxide, exponentially. And so he's sitting on this patent, but several companies had approached him for it. He didn't want to work with them because he'd worked with companies before and lost all this money. And so he's having these conversations with Josh. Josh was helping him with some of his experiments in his in-home lab. And at one point, he made a statement about, I'm not going to be around, whatever it is. I'm alive for a few more years, I'm going to die. And Joshua asked him, yeah, and then what? Oh, I don't know. I don't really care. And so Joshua started my brother started poking and prodding and inviting him to believe in something beyond. But his response, okay, obviously he's heard about this heaven thing before, but he said, why would I want to go? Why would I want to go? I have lived a full life. What will I do? Science? I've already done science. What would I do? Inventing? I've already invented things. Why should I want to go? So that's the question I'm extending to you this morning. Why do you want to go? I'm not going to answer that question for you. You're going to have to answer it for yourself. But I hope that'll be kind of the backdrop for what we discuss in the next few minutes this morning. I asked that question of a couple people this week, and they discovered that I think our answers fall into one of two categories. If asked, why do you want to go to heaven? Or what is heaven to you? Or what is attractive about heaven to you? I think our answers fall into one of two categories. One, things heaven has, and two, things heaven does not have. Generally speaking, if you ask a child, why do you want to go to heaven? The answer often is something like, oh, I want to taste the flavors of a rainbow. Or I want to ride on the back of a cheetah. Or I want to, swim and fly. My dream actually has always been this strategic combination of flying and scuba diving. Like, what would it be like to fly above the water and then all of a sudden be flying under the water, and then fly above the water? Dream on. I think there's no reason why we can't when we get there. But those are things that you can do I want to go to heaven because in heaven I can do X, Y, or Z. As we grow in mature, I think our fixation becomes more things that heaven doesn't have. For example, no more pain.
Amen.
No more death, no more loss, no more sorrow, no more, you fill in the blank. Here's a seed I want to plant before I launch into my story. My Bible says, I have not seen, nor ear heard, nor hath remotely entered into the heart or thoughts of man the things that God has prepared for those that love him. What does that suggest to you? To me, it suggests that heaven is more than the absence of some earthly irritant. Far more. Our minds latch onto the idea of the absence of an earthly irritant, and that's beautiful. Our hearts maybe go a step further and start to dream about tasting the rainbow, or riding a cheetah, but my Bible says the essence of the glory of heaven completely squashes all of those things. It is those things and infinitely more. And I think that infinitely more is the most pressing argument we possess. Not only in convincing others to go with us, but in making the choices necessary to get to ourselves. Enough philosophizing. I love my little black car. Out in the parking lot. Now everyone's going to go out in the parking lot, look at my little black car. It has a messed up bumper because jackrabbits right from them are like the sizes of small goats. Anyway. But I love my little black car, as has pretty much everyone who's ever driven my little black car. My sister-in-law, in fact, one of my sisters-in-law really prefers greatly to borrow my little black car because she told me a couple weeks ago that she really likes being first off the line at the stoplight. And she's noticed my car does too. Whereas if they drive, she drives one of their little red car, it's a real struggle to get first off the line, but mine's ready to go. It's not a fancy little car, but it's a car that's been extremely reliable and quite likable. And I've decided that when it dies, I'm going to get another just like it. Of course, I have a problem. A very beautiful problem. That is that very soon I have to haul around 2 car seats. And 2 car seats barely fit in the back of my little black car. And so at some point I'm also going to have to get a larger car. But I've liked my little Hyundai so much that I'm thinking that one day I sat down and I was thinking, okay, so when it's time to upsize, I'm going to go with a cousin to my little black car. And so one day, with a few spare minutes on my hands, I went to Hyundai's website and I started virtually customizing. I started looking at the different options for SUVs to just plan long term what we would end up in as a little family. And I saw this car. It was just beautiful. And so I started clicking through. Here are the options for the interior, for the wheels and the colors, and And I get to the end of the process, and guess what? I have the perfect car. Yes. But the question, how much? Same question you'll encounter if you walk up to the car dealer and they start telling you all the virtues of all the options of all the cars on the lot. Oh, this is definitely the one for you, and this is, yes. But how much? What's the title of our message this morning? Yes. But how much? I want to paint a picture for you of what God has on offer. If God were a car salesman, what would the pitch sound like? What would it look like? We have a hint because we have a record. Here's what's on offer. There is a country. My Bible says its builder and its maker is God.
Amen.
There, the heavenly shepherd leads his flock to fountains of living waters. The tree of life yields its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. There are ever-flowing streams. They are clear as crystal. And beside them, trees wave their hands, wave their branches, and they cast shadows on the paths prepared for the ransomed of the Lord. There, the wide-spreading plains swell into hills of beauty. You've heard these words before. And the mountains of God rear their lofty summits, and on those peaceful plains, and beside those living streams, God's people, so long pilgrims and wanderers, shall find. You know what I think they'll find? I think that when you and I finally cross the threshold into that city and sink down to our knees into the grass under this immense weight of glory, glory so great, our knees won't hold us up. I think that when we sink down, some of us will just kneel there and sigh. And some of us will laugh, and some of us will just stare, with hearts too full to take in the reality, too full to make a sound. And maybe, just maybe, someone will come while we sit there, stooped over under this weight of glory. Maybe someone will come and will put a hand on our shoulder. And that someone will say, "Hey, you okay?" Of course I am okay. How could I be anything but okay in a place like this? Well, that's what I thought. But it never hurts to check. But I do have, you might straighten up, I do have a question for you, since you are into asking questions and maybe giving answers too. Am I awake, or is this a dream? And the kind face stooping over you will say, it's not a dream. You're home. Welcome. Tears will stream for sure, then. I'm pretty sure. And so you sit up, I sit up, I look around, and I imagine that the companion, well, does it look like you imagine? No, it does not. Do I look like you imagine? You don't know me. But I've known you a long, long time. You remember when, and then he launches off into a recital of time and time and time again when your guardian angel was there and saved you from what you did not know. We're home. Home at last. And then your companion says, look, we're all here. Everybody's in, come. And after this I beheld, my Bible says, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. They stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, with palms in their hands, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation, salvation to our God, which sitteth on the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne, and around the elders and the four beasts, and they fell before the throne on their faces, and they worshipped, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. And your companion, your guardian angel, turns to you and your family and says, all of these, wearing these robes, these same robes as you, who are they? Where did they come from? And you, like John, say, you know, you tell me. You know better than I. You've come out of great tribulation. You have washed your robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore, you are here before the throne of God. You will serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sits on the throne shall dwell among you. You will hunger no more. You will thirst no more. The sun shall not light on you, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne, he will feed you with his own hands, and shall lead you unto living fountains of water. And God will wipe away all tears from your eyes. No more tears. Hallelujah. God shall wipe away, Revelation says, all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, no more sorrow, nor crying. But former things are passed away. But come, says your companion, there is more. There is more to show, more to tell. The city is just here, Jerusalem. But before he can even get out the word Jerusalem, there is this screen, and another little group of shining ones with their angel companions is seen running. Or are they flying 2 inches off the ground towards you? They're coming for you, and I don't know who, but it's someone long lost, someone much loved. Maybe a friend you lost in childhood, maybe the cousins you never thought you'd see again, maybe grandfather, grandmother, grandson, or granddaughter. And as you meet in this rapturous, joyous embrace, and the tears flow again, suddenly you realize the angels are embracing too. And you turn to one of them and say, how was this? You know her? And your angel tells you, my dear me, I have at least one angel friend for every human friend you've ever had. And we spend a lot of time together, just as you did. And I've missed them. Ready to continue? It is written, my people shall dwell in a peaceful habitation, in sure dwellings, in quiet resting places. And here's yours. He points to you. I haven't seen it myself because I've been on earth with you, but I know the guys who built it. They're good at what they do. How do you like it? Of course you like it. It's perfect. This is your city house, the one that was built for you. You'll build your own country house, at some little distance. But you love it. And you know what you love even more? The neighborhood. Every person on this street, they're your favorite people. You sit there marveling and you wonder how the king knew. And you ask your angel companion how the king knew. And your companions smile, and this soft light fills their faces as you mention the name of the king. And their voices hush a little bit, and they bow their heads just a little. And their voices get this strange little tremble of reverent joy. The king. He knows everything. The king is good. The king is good. And somehow, watching their faces when they say his name, you realize that maybe this king is better, far better than you yourself ever knew. Maybe the angels know something that we don't. And there's another thing about this neighborhood. Violence shall no more be heard in the land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders. Thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. They shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. And speaking of yon vineyards and gardens, instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree, and instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the little child shall lead them both. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountains, saith the Lord. Isaiah 35, 55, 11, etc. This is the New Jerusalem. This is the metropolis of the glorified new earth. It is a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, a royal diadem in the hand of God. Her light will be like a light most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. The nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth will bring their glory and honor into it, saith the Lord. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. The tabernacle of God is with men. He will dwell with them. They shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. In this city there shall be no night. None shall even desire repose. There will be no weariness there. No weariness in doing the will of God and offering praise to his name. We shall ever feel, I love this line, we shall ever feel the freshness of the morning, and shall ever be far from its close. The light of the sun will be superseded by the radiance, which is not painfully dazzling, which is immeasurably greater than the brightness of our own noon. The glory of God and the Lamb floods the city with unfading light, and we need to walk in the sunless glory of perpetual day. There, the redeemed shall know even as they are known. The loves and sympathies which God himself has planted in the soul, there they shall find their truest and sweetest exercise. The pure communion of holy beings, the harmonious social life, the blessed angels, the faithful ones of all ages that have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb, the sacred ties that bind together the whole family of heaven and earth. These help constitute the happiness of the redeemed. And for those of you thinking, well, that's still, oh, wow, I can't even take that all in. But what? Like my brother's former mentor. What will I do? What will I do with my mind? The thinkers out there. Their immortal minds will contemplate with never-failing delight the wonders of creative power, the mysteries of redeeming love. There will be no cruel, deceiving foe to tempt to forgetfulness of God. Every faculty will be developed, every capacity increased. The acquirement of knowledge will not weary the mind or exhaust the energies. There the grandest enterprises may be carried forward. Speaking of inventing new things. The loftiest aspirations reached, the highest ambitions realized, and still there will arise new heights to surmount. We're always getting there, never quite get there, and yet always fully satisfied. Isn't that crazy? All the treasures of the universe will be open to the study of God's redeemed. And as the years of eternity roll, those years will bring richer and still more glorious revelations of God and of Christ. As knowledge is progressive, so will love and reverence and happiness increase. And then, maybe someday, our faces will light up too when we sing the name of the King. And our faces will glow and our voices will hold that same little tremble of holy joy. The more we learn of God, the greater will be our admiration of his character. As Jesus opens before us the riches of redeeming grace and the achievements in the great controversy with Satan, our hearts, the hearts of the ransomed, thrill with even more fervent devotion and more rapturous joy. And we sweep our hearts of gold, and 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of voices unite to swell the mighty chorus of praise. Remember how many 1,000 thousands is? It's a million. Millions and millions of voices singing together. And every creature which is in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them heard I saying, blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth on the throne and unto the Lamb forever. But I imagine this little shadow, this little flick of a question crosses your face, and you turn to your guardian angel companion, your tour guide through this most unbelievable of all tours. What if something happens? What if something were to happen to mess this up? But your tour guide looks at you and with a smile and with calm certainty says, no, the great controversy is over. Sin and sinners are no more. The entire universe is clean. One pulse of harmony and gladness beats through the vast creation, and from He who created all flow life and light and gladness throughout the realms of illimitable space. From the minutest atom to the greatest world, all things, animate and inanimate, in their unshadowed beauty and perfect joy declare that God is love. I have goosebumps. That, my friends, is what's on offer. And if God were the used car salesman, or in this case, the very new car salesman, this is the point at which he would lean back in his chair and click his pen and ask, what do you think? This sounds amazing. Are these all the options? And he says, options? No. These all come standard. We haven't even started talking about the options. What do you think? Yes. How much? Does anybody think that any of us can afford what's on offer? It's kind of a trick question, isn't it?
By the blood of Jesus.
By the blood of the Lamb. Yes, but how much? In that moment, I wonder if he wouldn't be the heaven salesman, lean back forward in his chair, and ask, what do you think it's worth? I think it's worth more than I have. What do you have? I don't even know what I have. Miracle of miracles. He leans back forward and says he's talked to the loan officer. And you have enough. What do you have? That is enough. But just. It'll cost everything. For the rich man, it will cost everything. For the poor man, it will cost everything. But miracle of miracles, you have enough. I have enough. This is the thought I want to leave you with. That I want to carry you through the rest of this week, and through the rest of this month, and through the rest of this month. It's not very long. The rest of next month, the rest of this year, the rest of your life. Friends, as I look out in the world in which we live, and you just drive down your street, and your neighbors are divided between one set of political banners or the other set of political banners, and the rest of your neighbors, some of them haven't put up their political banners because they don't want them to get stolen, and there's just unrest. You know, you turn on the TV, you turn on the radio, and it's Americans at Americans next. Because how could you think that way, or how could you be that way, or just the world we live in is messed up. It's waxing old like a garment. I want to get out of here. I want to live my life in the context of a reality that transcends utterly the stuff we see around us each and every day. And we can. But it costs something. It costs everything. For the rich, it costs everything. For the poor, it costs everything. But this is our hope. And this is the only hope we can offer to our neighbors and friends. And oh, what a hope it is. I return to my former question before I finish here. Why do you want to go to heaven? There are two reasons. All of our reasons fall into one of two categories, and I want to make an invitation. Those of us who are more mature, as I have already observed, tend to identify heaven as the place where earthly irritants are missing. That is a beautiful thing, and that is reason enough to get there. But there is something that I deeply believe God wants to use to grip our hearts and souls. He doesn't want to just take our minds to heaven, he wants to take our hearts too, and all of us. Sometimes I think we need to become a little bit more like little children. And in our thoughts, and in our prayers, and in our anticipation of the glories of the place, I think we need to give ourselves room, and maybe for some of us it requires actually a little nudge. Maybe we need to nudge ourselves in the direction of dreaming bigger dreams about the glory of the place we're going to, because I repeat, I have not seen, ear hath not heard. I can stand here and just think a few moments about what it'll be like to meet my guardian angel, and chills can go up and down my spine, and tears can come to my eyes, and still, I have not seen, I have not heard, I have not begun to imagine the glory of the place. Take a minute today, and tomorrow, and the next day, to think. To ask the Lord to open the window just a little so that we can start to see the goal. I think if we live inside of the goal, the craziness of the world we live in right now, though it is our current reality, will matter less and less. We will be empowered to change it more and more. Now the church is militant. Now we are confronted with a world in darkness, among almost wholly given over to idolatry. The will of God, but the day is coming when the battle will have been fought and the victory will have been won. The will of God is to be done on earth as it is done in heaven. The nations of the saved will know no other law than the law of heaven, and all will be happy. A united family clothed with the garments of praise and thanksgiving, the robe of Christ's righteousness. All nature, in its surpassing loveliness, will offer to God a tribute of praise and adoration. The world will be bathed in the light of heaven. The light of the moon will be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be sevenfold greater than it is now. The years will move on in gladness, and over the scene, the morning stars, whoever they are, will sing together. And the sons of God will shout for joy, while God and Christ unite in proclaiming, there shall be no more sin. Neither shall there be any more death. And as the years roll on, your companion angel and mine will tap and keep tapping us on the shoulder and ask, You ready to go? There's more. There's more to explore. More. You haven't even started. How much? How much? Yes, it costs everything. What is your everything? And is it worth more than this? Closing hymn is number 633. When we all